Are you here for the motorcycle?
I am.
Mhm.
So,
No, no, Martina.
oh,
Nice to
nice to
meet
meet
you.
you.
Hello. Good. It's good you're sitting up close so that way when we call up for the certificates, you're already nearby. And you're going to speak.
Audio test one, two, three.
My father, because I printed out something, but he printed out, I knew it was my speech, but I wanted to like memorize. I wanted it to him. So he should hear this hopefully soon. I just may have to show up.
Okay. Perfect.
DJ, is it okay if I close that window back there? Is it okay if I close that window back there?
Yes.
Because once the traffic starts,
Yeah.
there's going to be a bunch of noise. Really get
Or
ready to talk.
sirens and stuff. Can you
Yeah.
give me an audio test on this?
Sure. Mic check, check, check. We're good. Okay, yeah, I'm going to close this window.
Audio test 1, 2, 3. Good morning to everyone who's joining us in the Board of Public Works hearing room this morning. Today's Wednesday, September 20th, 2023. It's about 9:53 in the morning. If anyone would like to offer public comment or commentary on any of our items today, please fill out a speaker card located in the back of the room on the table and hand it to me. If there's anyone joining us via our virtual platform, if you would kindly press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute. Identify yourself for the record and which item you'd like to speak on. I will record your information for the record. Thank you. We should get started in the next 10 to 12 minutes. Thank you.
So we have to email it to Sal to make sure it's the right song.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because his dad works here too. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, how you doing? Good. How was your score? What'd you get?
90.
What? Great. Okay.
I don't have any seniority credits.
That's all right. That's all right. 95 is good. 95 is really good for the fact that you don't have seniority.
Oh,
That's all right. So, all right. Next step.
The volume on the
Pump
system.
volume test. I think I just increased it a little bit. Does that sound a little bit louder?
Let me look at that. If Campos is gonna be out of town.
want to take that one. That'll be a good one for me to take.
Yeah, I was gonna take some other ones, but there was too many classes and that was the time.
It gets to be a lot.
Yeah, but it's on a Thursday. Every Thursday.
Oh, it's just good.
From like 5 to 8.
They'll offer it again.
Yeah.
That's cool. What did you end up getting for the
95.
supervisor one?
Oh no. Oh, that was a good.
A B. It might be a two. Gotta be plus. Because I probably wrote no, because the last test was hard, bro.
That term was hard for me. Last one was
It was too many things like name 5 things, 7 things, 3 things, and then explain it. It was like I think 3 times harder than the midterm.
You know, I had to take that during the class. They showed that he went to DWP and I asked him about the sweeper. Yeah, he says that they're just equipment operators. I mean, light truck operators with a sweeper and something. So they don't even get full time. They get like part time. That's all they do is sweep the yard. Okay, so then I had actual sweepers. Like one's for the airport or the DWP, the white truck. They showed me that one.
Oh yeah. I was wondering about that.
So I asked him, that's what he told me.
They're just like part time.
They're like kind of like part-time, you don't get the whole 40 hours.
What do they sweep?
Yards.
Oh,
They're
just
pretty big yards.
that's interesting. Really interesting. Yeah, we gotta keep going to school. Right? We gotta keep going to school.
Yeah.
For the family.
It's the one with my dad. He has temptation. Oh, I don't know. Very nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you. What's your name? Ralph. Ralph?
You could call me JR though.
JR? Yes. Okay. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Good morning to everyone who is joining the Board of Public Works here physically in our hearing room. I just want to take a moment to offer, if anyone wishes to offer public comment or commentary on any of our agenda items this morning, we do have speaker cards located in the back of the room. If you would kindly fill one out, note which item or public comment that you would like to speak on, fill out your information and hand it to me. Also, good morning to our attendees who are joining us via our Zoom platform. If there's anyone who wishes to offer commentary on any of our items this morning on the Zoom platform, please press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute, identify yourself for the record and which item you'd like to speak on. I will record your name for the record at this time. And we should get started in about 3 minutes. Thank you. Good morning once again to our attendees who are here physically in the hearing room. Once again, if there's anyone who wishes to offer public comment or commentary on any of our items, please fill out a speaker card located in the back of the room. Note which item you'd like to speak on, and you'll fill out your information and hand it to me. Also, if there's anyone joining via the Zoom platform who wishes to offer commentary on any of our items, please press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. And seeing no hands raised, we can go ahead and go into record mode. President Garcia? Very good.
We can start.
And we are in record mode.
Great. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled meeting for the Board of Public Works for Wednesday, September 20th, 2023. TJ Knight?
Yes, thank you, President Garcia. TJ Knight, Assistant Executive Officer, taking role in establishing quorum. President Garcia, Vice President Villegas, President Pro Tem Davis, Commissioner Reyes, our President. We do have a quorum. We are also joined by City Attorney Representative Virginia Choi. Once again, I'm Assistant Executive Officer TJ Knight. President Garcia, we have no speaker cards under public comment, no neighborhood council commentary, and no speaker cards under any of our items this morning.
Great, thank you very much. With that being said, general public comment is now officially closed. Moving on to the first item on today's business, which is the approval of the minutes of Wednesday, September 6th, 2023. Is there a second to my motion? Thank you, Dr. Davis. TJ Knight, there's a first by me and a second by Dr. Davis to approve the minutes of Wednesday, September 6th, 2023.
Very good, and we'll take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and the item is approved.
Great, thank you very much for that. Well, welcome everybody. Good morning to those that are joining us here in person and those that are joining us via the social platform. It is a privilege and an honor to be here on this Wednesday morning. I'm already thinking of Saturday. On this Wednesday morning, and a nice day out there. And it's a really special day today. We have our motor sweeper operator graduation ceremony today, presented by the Bureau of Street Services, and I'm excited to bring Ana Tabuenarrety, our assistant, over here. Come on down, Ana. Bring her over to lead our presentation this time around. I want to say first and foremost, congratulations to all of you that are here, that are graduating with your street sweeper motor operator certificate today. You've taken the time not only to be here today, but you've taken the time to invest in yourself. And so before I go on with all kinds of accolades to all of you, I just want to say, first and foremost, thank you for making that choice, and thank you to the leadership at Bureau of Street Services, Keith Mosey as our general manager, Ana Tabuenarrety as assistant general manager, and I also saw Lance somewhere around here. I think he was here. Oh, there, and Chief Harris. Those are the folks, unless, is there another executive of Bureau of Street Services?
Keith is here.
Did I say Keith? Keith was my first one. So just in case, I know that motor street operators, sometimes you don't see or get an opportunity to see who your general managers or executive management are, but these are the folks that really put together these programs, these classes for you, and come here ask for money and advocate on why this is important and why we should do this, and advocate on why the contracts are important and so forth. And so I just want to make sure that you also know that it's a big, huge family that you have at Bureau of Street Services, and it's a bigger family that you have here at Public Works. Public Works, we're the second largest department here in the city, of the second largest city in the nation, and Public Works is about 6,000 overall. So congratulations to all of you, because you're part of such a big, enormous, and really one of the best departments in the whole city, to be very honest. And that also, I want to allude that to Keith Mosey, who's back there, and is going to now turn it over to Ana Tabuenarrety to lead us on today's ceremony.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thanks for having us here today. I'll just have a brief note and introduce the rest of our folks. We are here to acknowledge the hard work and dedication of our most recent street maintenance technology motor graduates of the Sweeper School. The motor sweeper is an integral part of the Bureau's operations to provide clean streets to all Angelenos. Due to attrition, the Bureau must constantly train employees and other interested parties in the operation, maintenance, and repair of motor sweepers. To that effect, we thanked our instructors under the leadership of Abraham Navarro and each student who, for 12 weeks, gave up their Saturdays to complete the demanding course. The first class for motor super operators was developed and implemented in 1985. The Los Angeles School District gave the course with the Bureau of Street Services. In 2003, the program was transferred to the Los Angeles Trade Technical College as part of the Street Maintenance Technology Program. The class and subsequent job have been utilized by many as an essential foundation to promote within our Bureau, including our General Manager and Executive Director, Keith Mosey. This time, I'd like to introduce Abe Navarro, the course director, but before that, I'd first like to introduce Martina Ruiz, who is our program coordinator for this school. Martina?
Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, today we are here to recognize the dedication and hard work of our motor super operator graduates from the spring term of this year, 2023. They have earned the certificate of completion for completing the coursework in the class. It's a Street Maintenance 210 through the it's administered through the LA Trade Technical College. It's part of our bigger program, the Street Maintenance Technology Program. It's accredited and administered through the LA Trade Tech College. The instructor is Mr. Navarro, Abraham Navarro, who is our former assistant director. He has been involved with the program. He's an adjunct professor with the LA Trade Tech College since 1991. Through the instruction of the program, the students learn paving, resurfacing, repairing, and maintaining the streets and roadways of the city. Mr. Navarro will complete his 127th class this fall, 2023. And now our next speaker, Mr. Navarro.
Good morning, Madam President. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you very much for the kind words, both of you. And yes, today we're celebrating one more class of the super operators. This is our 31st class of motor super operators. And with that, we complete the number of 763 students. We have 16 graduates in this class. So we call it, or I call it the reservists, because they are on duty, they are to be called when they are needed. So in the street cleaning family, we have the acting super operators, and then we have the substitute motor super operators that come to the call when they are needed. It was mentioned that it's a joint effort with the LA Trade Tech, but I also want to recognize the gigantic support that has facilitated administrative logistics by Ms. Martina Ruiz. She has been a lot of help from student enrollment, printing the class materials, helping students with school issues, with the whole gamma of issues. Thank you very much. And I'm also very fortunate to have in the front line a team of dedicated instructors. We have 3 of them here today. Steve Jacobellis, Latrice Lewis, Mr. Langston Phillips, I'm going to be brief. We would like to have a couple of students are going to say a few words. I like to really give my thanks to the family members of each student for providing the support during all 12 Saturdays. The family, please, may I see them? Stand up, family members. You have to.
These are all the family members that supported all of our workers taking their classes. Thank you.
Yes. And in closing, to the class of 2023, my most sincere congratulations, and I welcome them to the street cleaning team. Thank you. Are we going to do the certificates?
The students are going to say a few words.
Oh, yes. We have some students that are going to say a few words. You have the names? Please call.
Mr. Salvador Luna will now speak a few words.
Good morning. My motivation for applying with the city and enrolling in this class was all thanks to my daughter. Without her, I don't know where I'd be. I've learned a lot in this class, from changing brooms to operating controls, to knowing that we should not open the hopper door before dumping. But the biggest highlights were passing the final and going home to tell my daughter the good news. Before applying with the city, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I didn't know how I was going to support my daughter. Getting a job with the city gave me hope. And after receiving the email from Martina in regards to the open spot in the class, I just couldn't turn it down. From passing the class to passing the civil service exam to being here with you all has really changed me and has changed my outlook on life. Before I end my speech, I'd like to thank the city for giving me the opportunity to start my career. To my family, thank you for always being there for me. To my instructors and Mr. Navarro, thank you for believing in me. And to my daughter, thank you for being in my life. To all my peers, this is only the beginning of the great things you will accomplish in your career. I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you.
And now we will hear from graduate Joseph Gonzalez.
Good morning. My name is Joseph Gonzalez, one of the graduates here today. First of all, I want to thank everyone for joining us here today, and congratulations to all the graduates. The first time I was intrigued or inspired by MSO Motor Sweeper, I was doing the marathon, and I seen the uniform, the protocol, and the way all the sweepers were aligned and in sync, the formation. That blew my mind, and I was like, man, I'm going to do that one day. So I got some information, and I took the steps to enroll into a class that was so hard to get into. I think I harassed Martina for like a year and a half. Every month, every day, Martina, is there an opening? But once I was in the class, it was amazing on all the things we had to learn. It wasn't just driving a machine. All the switches, the hydraulic system, the hopper, the walk around, the do's and the don'ts. But every class brought us like the diligence that we needed to do and needed to learn. And here we are, we graduated. This class didn't only motivate myself or to push me to the limit, but it pushed me to pursue more endeavors ahead and continue school and continue pushing myself to the limits of achievements. I completed 208 recently, and now I'm in 242. It was really a pleasure to go to battle with the rest of my class here today, and the struggles, the anxiety, the nervousness, but most of all, to see each other help and motivate the next person or a classmate that was overwhelmed or didn't believe they can do it. It was good to see us there for each other and encourage one another. It was epic. I want to thank all the instructors for taking the time every weekend to come here and help us pursue our goals. Thank you so much to all our instructors. Someone once told me there is no excuses. I drive from a distance here every day and do multiple classes, and it's gonna take me forever to get home, but I do it. No excuses. They came from Mr. Navarro. Mr. Navarro, I thank you that you take the time in every class to teach us your knowledge, your experiences, and your wisdom. That day you told me that in class, like it really like pushed, like it just opened my brightness, my horizons. Like, wow, he's right. Like this guy, you know, he does multiple classes and he does what it takes to get what needs to be done. And that day I told myself, I'm not gonna make no more excuses. So thank you, Mr. Navarro, for all your help and all that you do. Martina, thank you for everything you do as well. Thank you for like always being there for us and like doing what it takes to help us get into these classes. I know we like constantly calling you, Martina, what do we do? So I thank you for all your help. Thank you.
Before we pass out the certificate, I'd just like to give a shout out to all the assistant instructors that helped our course director, Mr. Navarro. So the first one is Danny Cordova. If you're here today, just please stand up. And if not, that's okay. Mark Duran, Letitia Garnica, Jeffrey Harris, Steve Jacobelis, Latrice Lewis, I know she's here. You want to stand up? Yeah. Langston Phillips. Thank you to all our assistant instructors. And so with that, we'll pass out the certificate. Okay. Mr. Navarro, would you like to assist with that? Do you want to go first?
Tommy Altamirano. Tommy here?
Yes, he's here.
Anna? Anna?
Congratulations. Thank you, Miss. Watch it. Thank you. Congratulations again. There you go. Thank you very much.
Okay, the next one is Ralph Rodriguez Jr.
Ralph came to us from the General Services Department. Congratulations. Philip Perry. Congratulations. Hold it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Robert A. Scholes.
Congratulations, Robert.
Thank you.
Manuel Martinez.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Thank you. Thanks.
I can't remember whose turn it was. Richard Mendez.
Congratulations, Richard. Thank you. Juan Gutierrez.
Thank you.
Salvador Luna.
Congratulations, huh?
Thank you, guys.
Joseph Gonzalez III.
Thank you.
Isaac Ibarra.
Congratulations. Thank you. Excuse me. Trino Gomez. Trino. Congratulations, Trino. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
And last but not, oh wait, there's two more. Antonio Ruiz.
Congratulations, Tony. Last one but not least, Maria Gaynor. Maria?
Oh, no.
Maria's not here. Okay. All right.
Who is that?
Oh,
Oh,
wait, we have it. We have this. Right, okay. And last but not least, Lakeisha Jackson.
It's okay. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. That wraps up our presentation.
Thank you, Anna Tawena Reddy and Mr. Navarro. If it's okay, we're going to give some accolades to the graduates, and then we'll take a picture because it's quite a big group. Colleagues, we'll take a picture of the City Hall steps, and we'll go out there to take those pictures. So before I get started, let me pass it over to my colleagues over here. We'll start with Commissioner Reyes.
Congratulations, everyone. It is so awesome to see all of our graduates and all of the mentors and instructors here for this program that really delivers core services to the citizens and to residents of the city of Los Angeles. So thank you for that. And your families being here present just shows you the wholehearted support that we have for this program, especially also coming from the family here from the Board of Public Works. I just want to say that success is no accident. It is hard work, it's your perseverance, your learning, your curiosity, your sacrifice, and most of all, the love of what you are doing and learning in order to do this work. So pat yourselves at the back, congratulate yourselves. You deserve it. This is your special day. Congratulations to all of you.
Commissioner Corson.
1,200 meters. Thank you. Congratulations. This is quite an achievement. We've heard Mr. Luna and talk about how important it was. And so to both of our graduates who shared your personal stories, thank you for sharing and volunteering to share that. Congratulations to you and your family. And, you know, your careers are going to progress. You're going to have successful careers and make LA look wonderful with your contributions. And in 20, 30 years from now, you'll be back in this room, if not sooner, for another accolade, but for a retirement. So congratulations on what you've achieved and what you're about to embark on.
President Pro Tem, Dr. Davis.
Thank you very much, President Garcia, and to each of those of you who have been through our program. I think that this is probably one of the most dynamic programs in the Department of Public Works, not only because of the training that we provide for you, but because of the collaboration we have with Trade Tech. And the connection between both the Bureau and Trade Tech is one that should be duplicated in many other programs that we have in Public Works. You should be proud to be a person who is a part, as has been stated by our president, the second largest city in the country. And the services that we provide perhaps are probably the most dynamic services of many of the cities in this country. You can look back with your service of public service in this city with pride in many years to come. And so I'm very encouraged because what we do in the city is not only provide services, but we do provide economic opportunity. And today that is what we are doing with the training that you have, giving you the tools by which you will have the kind of economic opportunities to take care of your family, to give back to the community that you serve. And I will end with often a quote that I took from Dr. Martin Luther King that is so specifically relevant to you in particular in the program that you have been engaged in. And Dr. King said once that if a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets even as Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep streets so well that all the host of heaven and earth will pause and say, "Here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well." So those of us on the board, we wish that to you and know that you are an example not only of doing a good job in your own bureaus, but throughout this entire city for the program in which you have completed and also for the promise that you are to the city of Los Angeles in the future. Congratulations.
Vice President Villegas.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. Let me put on my glasses so I can see. Congratulations to all the graduates today. What an honor, and thank you for those that were able to speak today. It's always encouraging to hear your honest words in our chambers, and I hope that you take pride in your finishing of your class today. I think one of the speakers that said something this morning, said that they felt a little uncomfortable, and something that has stuck with me has just been something that a professor told me, and it's taken me throughout my career, and that's get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's when the most learning happens. And I hope that you all are, you start out this step in the city career as a motor sweeper, but please venture out into other areas of the city. We are vast, and there are many opportunities. Keith Mose is an example of that, our director for the Bureau of Street Services. Sky is the limit, and please do know also that what you're doing by doing keeping our streets clean, you are also complying with our federal Clean Water Act. The city of Los Angeles is required to take out trash from our streets. This is why we have, the directives, to be able to keep our streets clean, keep the trash out, keep all kinds of stuff off of our gutters. And so what you're doing is integral. You're one piece of the bigger pie. And thank you for coming out and supporting, and to all the families that have come out and supported you all during those Saturdays and the weekends. It's a real attribute today. So congratulations to everyone. Thank you.
Well, first and foremost, I want to really give a special shout out to Mr. Navarro. Mr. Navarro, if you please stand up, please. Am I correct by saying? Is this correct? This is your 127th class? Wow, we should be giving you a certificate as well. That is amazing. And Mr. Navarro, I just want to tell you thank you from on behalf of the city and on behalf of our board and on behalf of Public Works. Thank you for dedicating your time to improving the quality of life of others. Thank you for doing that. You've been doing that since 1985. Congratulations, and there's no words for that. I secondly want to say that I really like your saying, and I'm going to implement it just like the gentleman here did, and that's no excuses. There's just no excuses for getting things done. And so I just want to say that if we can pass that along to the next generation coming along, and the next generation that's going to join the Bureau of Street Service, join Public Works, no excuses. It's just really what it's saying. Sometimes you are sick. Sometimes you do have a family situation. But overall, your goal, your outcome, and the delivery that you want to do should not have an excuse, right? So I just want to say you all are an example of no excuses. Thank you for doing that for yourselves and for doing that for your kids, doing that for their kids, and doing for all that generations that come after you. Because getting a city job, and we go back to Mr. Keith Mosey, because Keith Mosey is a true example of what your career can look like here at the city. There's so much opportunities. Bureau of Street Service is one bureau of 5, and then Public Works is one department of 42 in the entire city. That's a lot of opportunities here. We don't want you to leave the Bureau of Street Services though, but I just want to just give you the example that you have. If you must, of course, we'll always support you. But I just want to say thank you for taking that time and investing in yourself. I know I said that already, but it is really important that you took that step because it just leads you to the next level of your life. So thank you so much for doing that for yourselves. And now it's time to really make sure that the other generation understands what it takes to be a motor street sweeper operator for the city of Los Angeles. And it's really going to be up to you guys to teach the next folks. And Mr. Navarro, of course, as well, we're going to have you here. But just want to make sure, because things are changing and the culture is changing, and the folks that are coming into the door right now are coming with a different value system. And so we just want to make sure that that value system joins up with the value system that the Bureau of Street Service has held up for so many years, that the city of Los Angeles continues to get the best of the best and continues to train the folks. And so you guys are the best of the best because you work for one of the best cities all around, and definitely for Public Works. So with that, I won't keep you guys long because I know we have families here. Y a todos los que vinieron aquí a apoyar a sus familiares, muchas gracias por estar aquí, señoras. Yo sé que ahora se levantaron temprano para estar aquí, pero se lo merece el muchacho aquí. So muchas gracias a todos los que están aquí. And for those, who's the first time here at City Hall for the family members? Everybody? Well, welcome to your City Hall, to the city of Los Angeles. Please make sure you take your time today to go upstairs and just take a few minutes to just, appreciate where really the magnitude of the city really comes from. Thank you for being here again, and congratulations to everyone here, and congratulations to the executive management team that always makes sure this program gets together. This is actually one of my favorite things to do, is to really celebrate those that are moving on and just, coming into a new life, and that's a really important time in your life to just make that pathway a really beautiful and well pathway, knowing that now your outcome is about providing a better life for you, for yourself, and for your families. So with that, I say congratulations, thank you all, and have a very good day the rest of the day, and we look forward to seeing you move up. Thank you. And with that, we will take pictures out in the City Hall steps because we have a pretty large group, and those joining us in the Zoom, it's going to take about 5 to 10 minutes of a break. Thank you, everyone.
I would say just to say that we did. Okay, so we'll get back outside, get it off. Because just because of a simple letter, doesn't necessarily mean it's. Huh? Perfect. You're in Idaho? No, it's not. It's not. You don't have to.
Okay.
All right, and the time is now 10:59, and I will go ahead and put us back. I have resumed record mode, and I just want to note for the record that Commissioner Corsan joined at 10:17. And also, just for the record, we do have a request from the Bureau on item number 4 to continue the item for 2 weeks.
Very well. Okay, so why don't we get started now with item number 1. This is a request in all council district. Task order solicitation number SN-129, Brown and Caldwell, Inc. and TRC Solutions, Inc. Recommending the board to, 1, authorize the Director of Sanitation to award task orders SN-129 to 2 consultants on the on-call consultant list, Brown and Caldwell, Inc. and TRC Solutions, Inc. Approve a total budget of $1 million to fund the services as follows. A, task order SN-129A, Brown and Caldwell provide closed-circuit television with an unethered camera device for 12.9 miles of outfall sewers for an amount not to exceed $400,000. B, task order SN-129B, TRC Solutions provide CCTV laser profiling, sonar inspection services for 19.6 miles of primary sewers for an amount not to exceed $600,000. And lastly, 3, approve the term of engagement beginning with a notice not to proceed, to proceed, date of July 22nd, 2024. Okay. Good morning, sir. Welcome, and the floor is all yours.
Good morning. Good morning, President Garcia. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for your time today. My name is Amir Farah, and I'm an engineer with the Bureau of Sanitation in the Wastewater Engineering Services Division. I work in the planning for critical infrastructure, primarily the large diameter sewers, under the direction of Christine Heinrich Jostes and Rowena Lau. And this presentation is for TOS SN 129 large diameter sewer structural assessment. And our recommendations for the TOS is as follows. We are requesting authorization for the Director and General Manager of the Bureau of Sanitation to award task order solicitation SN 129 to 2 consultants, Brown and Caldwell and TRC Solutions, and approve a total budget of $1 million to fund the services to provide closed circuit television with an untethered camera device for 12.9 miles of outfall sewers for an amount not to exceed $400,000, and providing CCTV, laser profiling, sonar inspection services for 19.6 miles of primary sewers for an amount not to exceed $600,000 to TRC Solutions, and approve the term of engagement beginning with the notice to proceed date to July 22nd, 2024. So for a little project background, a large component of the planning process involves televised inspections of our sewers to assess the remaining useful life of the asset. And LA-SAN has been implementing a rigorous sewer renewal program to reduce sewage spills and upgrade the aging sewer system to protect public health and the environment. Our sewer system consists of 6,700 miles of sewer pipe, and a portion of this is large diameter sewer inventory, which consists of approximately 700,000 miles or 700 miles or 3.6 million feet of large diameter sewers. And through the previous TOSs, TOS SN 71B, 91A, and 91B, we've inspected over 100 miles of sewer, and those assessments have enabled us to find over 130 major defects that have prevented sinkholes and sewer overflows. Additionally, the inspections have helped us prioritize over 30 capital improvement programs and improvement projects. And through the TOS SN 129, we are continuing our inspection efforts from previous contracts. And however, with this contract, we are expanding our inspection efforts to other outfall and primary sewer lines, such as the Venice outfall sewer, the Coastal Interceptor sewer, the Las Ciénegas Interceptor sewer, the West LA Interceptor sewers. And this effort will give us the ability to better prioritize the sequence of rehabilitation projects. Also, the inspections are needed for rapid response to wet weather events. The large diameter outfall sewers will be inspected with untethered floating devices under this contract, which enables us to do quicker condition assessments of the sewer, while the primary sewers will be inspected with traditional CCTV inspection equipment. So for a little timeline, the TOS SN 129 was advertised to the on-call consultants on April 15th, 2021. And on April 27, 2021, LA-SAN held a pre-proposal meeting with 9 interested firms. And on May 11th, 2021, 3 firms submitted proposals for the TOS, and interviews for the firms were held on June 2nd, 2021. On July 26th, 2021, LA-SAN issued a notice of selection to both Brown and Caldwell and TRC Solutions. The anticipated business inclusion percentages were 18% MBE, 4% WBE, 25% SBE, 8% EBE, and 3% DVBE. However, since the scoped work under this contract is so specialized, we fell below these anticipated levels. The levels that we received pledged from Brown and Caldwell were 6% WBE, 13.5% SBE, and 31.2% OBE. And for TRC Solutions, they pledged 17.4% MBE, 17.4% SBE, and 17.4% DVBE, followed up by 41.7% OBE firms. We do always encourage the prime consultants to reach out to diverse companies through their outreach efforts. In conclusion, we recommend that the board approve and authorize an award of $400,000 to Brown and Caldwell and $600,000 to TRC Solutions, Inc. This concludes my presentation. Did you have any questions or comments at this time?
Thank you so much for your presentation, Mr. Farah. That was very thorough. A quick question. You said that Brown Caldwell is also, for lack of a better word, spreading their funds through DBE and SBE. Is that right?
Yeah, so their anticipated level or their pledged levels of business inclusion are 6% WBE, 13.5% SBE, and 31.2 OBE. So our prime consultant is outreaching to sub-consultants.
That's very good. Even at an amount of $400,000, they were able to make that happen.
Right.
That's actually very noteworthy, to be honest. Okay, colleagues, any questions on this item?
I just have some basic
Dr. Davis,
informational
go ahead.
questions. In terms of the process, they are on the on-call list, and they were next in line to be assigned a task in the work that we do in inspecting the sewer system, correct? Is that
Yes.
how it works?
Well, we put out a solicitation to all 25 consultants on the list, and whoever feels that they're eligible or capable of conducting the work, they'll respond to us, and we'll conduct a pre-proposal meeting from there. And if they do submit a proposal, we'll do interviews as well.
So of those that did respond to you, you examined them and you assessed that these were the two firms for this particular job that were best suited to implement the service that we needed in terms of the, I guess, the the tools that they use to inspect with the camera, correct?
Correct.
So you felt that of all of those that did submit bids, that these had the better bid or the best bids of those submitting. Is that correct?
Yes. So out of the 9 that showed up for the pre-proposal meeting, 3 firms submitted proposals, and out of those 3, we selected 2.
Was there anything unique in terms of, as we looked at those choices that you made, was there anything unique about these 2 firms that you can share with us as to how, in fact, they were the ones that you chose?
For Brown and Caldwell, we have an extensive history of working with them, so they have a good knowledge and experience of inspecting CCTV sewers. And TRC was also equipped with good experience as well as the proper equipment to inspect these lines.
And they too are vendors that, or contractors that work with us regularly as well. Is that correct? That would be TRC. You did tell me that Brown and Caldwell works with us often, correct?
Right.
And so TRC works with us often as well. We have, obviously they're on the on-call list.
Right.
We've done other things with them as it relates to helping to inspect the system, correct?
I don't believe we've done too many.
We haven't done that much with TRC. So they're relatively new to the system, but yet their application was, I would say, outstanding in comparison to those others that you reviewed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good. I just wanted to get a better understanding. And then finally, in terms of the miles of sewage that we have in our system, is it 6,700, you told me? 6,700 miles of sewer that we have to manage, is that right?
Correct, total.
That's for the entire city?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for increasing my awareness in terms of the process and how it's implemented. And wanted to say that probably the most important thing we do in sanitation in cities in general is to manage this sewer system. And so I'm very glad to see you share with us that we have a routine plan in terms of how we are monitoring our sewer system far in advance, because we know that one of the casualties that happens is this sewage spillage, and that all of those who are in the business obviously want to help manage in a way that we prevent that from happening in the future. So thank you for presenting this and to explaining to me our process and how we do this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Davis. Commissioner Reyes?
I just have a technical question on the process. I know that on the scope of work, they're going to extend the CCTV scoping work into the outfalls, right? And can you tell us what is the benefit of that? Will it capture more of the conditions of the sewer lines, or will it shorten the timelines and make us more adaptable, or tell us why that is and what those benefits are going to be provided, because we're including that provision in this specific contract.
Right, so the untethered device that will be used to inspect the outfall sewers, it'll allow us to do more mileage of outfall sewers. If we were to use traditional CCTV equipment, it would take a lot more time, and we wouldn't be able to get as much miles for the same amount of money. So this new technology it allows us to do more rapid inspections for a better cost.
So technically, what you're saying, it's going to be more efficient and more cost-effective.
Correct, yes.
Okay, and that will help us meet our timelines, because I know there is this huge effort to check our sewer system right now, because it's an aging infrastructure. And there's a lot of money and investment that we're putting into this. So I'm just curious about, I know the technology is there, but how are we making it more effective and more cost efficient is something that, that I always look at, so that then we're able to at least meet the deliverables for the program or for the project that we're supporting. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. I don't see any other questions. Colleagues, any objections on this item? Hearing none, is there a motion on the table to move item number 1 forward and forthwith?
So moved.
Thank you, VP Villegas, and thank you, Dr. Davis, for your second. TJ Knight, there's a first by VP Villegas and a second by Dr. Davis to move item number 1 forward and forthwith.
Thank you, President Garcia, and we'll take a roll call vote on item number 1, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsand.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and item number 1 is approved and will move forward forthwith.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Farah, for this morning. Have a good rest of the day. Moving on to item number 2, this is a request from the Bureau of Sanitation and the CAO office. Okay. Nisha, I saw your name. I didn't see you. This is a request in Council District 7 for a memorandum of understanding, amendment number 2 to the Discovery Cube, recommending the board to 1, approve and forward this report with the transmittal to the mayor's office for approval to execute the proposed amendment number 2 to the second memorandum of understanding, or second MOU, between the City of Los Angeles, Department of Public Works, Bureau of Sanitation, and the Discovery Cube of Los Angeles for operational support and to develop, promote, and assist the City of Los Angeles Bureau of Sanitation environmental events and programs. The term of this amendment number 2 to the second MOU will remain the same, with an increase in the maximum compensation by $1.8 million for the performance term of July 1st, 2023 to June 30th of 2024. 2, request the Office of the City Administrative Officer continue to serve as the administrator responsible for authorizing the disbursements of the cash advance and final approval of the invoice documentation in accordance with the scope of services defined within the proposed amendment number 2 to the subject second MOU, including the provisions of other services mutually agreed by DCLA and Bureau of Sanitation as part of the supplemental service schedule. And 3, upon the mayor's authorization, the president or 2 members of the board will execute the MOU. Okay, good morning, ma'am. Want to hear what we have going on here?
Good morning, President Garcia, Commissioners. My name is Melinda Geyer, and I'm here representing the Office of the CAO. The item before you is the recommended approval and transmittal of the Second Amendment of the Second MOU between the Bureau of Sanitation and the Discovery Cube Los Angeles. In regard to the Second Amendment, the Discovery Cube has received $1.8 million in the current year fiscal 2023-24 adopted budget. The $1.8 million has already been appropriated in the General City Purposes Fund, and the city clerk oversees the accounting functions of this fund. Of this $1.8 million, $900,000 came from the general fund, $450,000 came from the Solid Waste Resources Revenue Fund, and $450,000 came from the Sewer Operations and Maintenance Fund. This second MOU, Second Amendment, is necessary in order to increase the total compensation from the second MOU, First Amendment, from $3.6 million to a revised funding limit of $5.4 million, and to allow Discovery Cube Los Angeles to obtain cash advances subject to final documentation of allowable costs. It is also recommended that the board request the CAO to continue to serve as an administrator responsible for authorizing the disbursements of cash advance and final approval of invoice documentation. As funding is appropriated in the General City Purposes Fund, all parties involved prefer that the payments are processed by the city clerk upon the approval and review by the CAO. This will help expedite the payment process. We will continue to work with the Bureau of Sanitation to ensure that the same payment process is followed with regards to the invoice approvals in order to protect the use of special funds. I am joined here by Anaisha Lewis of the Bureau of Sanitation in order to answer any questions that you may have regarding the program agreements between the Bureau of Sanitation and Discovery Cube Los Angeles. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding the CAO's involvement with this memorandum of understanding. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this. Appreciate you bringing this back up to us here at the board. Any questions on this, colleagues? Dr. Davis?
Yes. Could you explain to me the relationship between sanitation and Discovery Cube in terms of the funds that you mentioned and how we allocate those funds to specifically the Cube? Can you bring me up to date on that background of that? I don't know what it is. Could you explain it to me?
I will ask Sanitation to join me.
Sure.
Okay. This, as I say, this is the second MOU that has been involved between sanitation and the Discovery Cube. So it does date back quite a bit. The first MOU was undertaken, according to my notes here, back in 2017. There was an amendment to that MOU that extended it through 2020. That MOU was not able to be continued. It actually expired during the pandemic, so there was kind of a stop there, and that's where the second MOU came into effect after that time. So then there was a second MOU which extended it through the 23-24 period, but only authorized funding for the first year of that term. The first amendment to that did not extend or the term length nor modify the provisions of it. It simply raised the funding limit. Sure. And the second MOU, the second amendment to that second MOU does the same thing. It does not extend the contract term nor change any of the provisions. It simply raises the funding limit to accept that funding that the adopted budget provided in this fiscal year.
So the relationship financially between the revenues from sanitation as they apply to Discovery Cube, can you explain to me how that happens? I want to be caught up to date in the...
Right. So there is funding. There are special funds that come from LA Sanitation sources. Part of the reimbursements that go to the Discovery Cube are for operational and maintenance, and some of the funds that go to the Discovery Cube are for programmatic resources that they help sanitation with, and that's where I would like to turn it over to the Bureau of Sanitation to describe.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. In answer to your question, we're using two special funds to fund this MOU. One fund is going to be for our solid side, and one fund is going to be for our water side. So what happens when we're working with Discovery Cube, that's how we make sure we're covering all aspects of sanitation when we're doing our community outreach. So that's why it's the two separate funds, and
That's
that's
what I
why it's
wanted to know.
divided equally.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Any other questions, colleagues? Sure.
Do we have any other entities within the city for whom these funds also are invested, similar to the relationship we have here in this particular item?
Not that I'm aware of in regards to sanitation. This is the agency that we've been using for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years in order to do this work, which is a long-term relationship that sanitation has had with Discovery Cube LA.
Great. Thank you.
I would say, although it's not administered by the CAO, this is a special relationship with these particular funds. And the CAO's relationship is because there are a multitude of funds from different sources. That's why we were asked to participate in the administration. But I do know that the Discovery Cube Los Angeles also has relations with the Recreation and Parks, as they are located on park land. And I do understand that they also have relationships with the Department of Cultural Affairs. So they are kind of involved with providing programming for a variety of city departments.
Thank you for that, Dr. Davis. Quick question, is the Discovery Cube going to add to the current display that we have there? Or is this to continue the maintenance? Like, what is this fund money going to do now?
So along with some of our internal or external community programming that we do with Discovery Cube, we're also in the process of trying to update the existing exhibits. We are a core sponsor for 2 exhibits in the actual Discovery Cube. And then what we're doing now is working with them on doing mobile exhibits, which we're the sponsor for, so that we can actually take that into the community and not only allow it to be visible at Foothill. So those are the things that we're working on. Last year, that was one of our task directives, was to be a core sponsor for that mobile exhibit. And then this year, it should be implemented for different programming.
Good. Okay. Wow, that's amazing. I like that. I like that we're going to be able to take that exhibit on the road out to other districts, I imagine, right? Okay, very nice. If anybody has not gone to Discovery Cube, you should go. There's a really nice sanitation display there on how we recycle, and it's just really nicely done. So the whole museum is really nice, by the way.
Is it environmentally focused in terms of its awareness to the community? It tries to give
Oh, yes.
exhibits to increase the awareness of citizens on environmental issues.
Yes, and that's what I actually wanted to add. With our partnership with Discovery Cube, what it has allowed us to do is bring those exhibits out into the public. So what we do with Discovery Cube is that we actually target Title IX schools, along with we work with Rec and Parks during their spring breaks and their summer programs to actually bring environmental education programs on site. And then we also have a
Did you say what schools? Title IX?
I believe it's Title IX. It's schools that are in lower income areas.
That's what I thought.
And then also we do field trips.
Okay.
So we actually, for those communities or for those schools that aren't able to afford buses, we work with Discovery Cube to actually bring those students to Discovery Cube LA, who may not otherwise have the access or the ability to do that.
So it could be said that the investment of the funds that we have from the various specific funds of sanitation that have been discussed today have been reinvested back into Discovery Cube, because it's a vehicle by which we increase the awareness of Los Angelinos in environmental issues that are relevant to our quality of life, if you will.
Yes, and also focusing on LA San initiatives specifically and bringing that education into the community.
That's what I needed to know. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I'm very familiar with Discovery Cube, and so just a really nice site out there. Okay, so any other questions, any objections, colleagues? Hearing none, is there a motion on the table to move item number 2 forward and forthwith?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, VP Villegas. TJ Knight, there's a first by Commissioner Reyes and a second by Vice President Villegas to move item number 2 forward and forthwith.
Very good, and we will take a roll call vote on item number 2, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsan.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes. Item number 2 is approved and will be moved forward forthwith.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Gallagher, and thank you, Nisha, for being here. Moving on to item number 3, this is a request from the Bureau of Contract Administration and Department of Transportation in all council districts for a project labor agreement, traffic signal backlog reduction, project phase 1, and Vision Zero traffic signal improvements. Recommending the board to, 1, add the Department of Public Works project labor agreement to this project. Like it, straight. Go for it, sir.
Good morning, President Garcia. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Max Skrupnik, and I am here representing the Bureau of Contract Administration, Office of Contract Compliance, and I'm going to be speaking regarding this project, the Traffic Signal Backlog Reduction Project, Phase 1, and Vision Zero Traffic Signal Improvement. And the city actually advertised the project on September 6th, 2023, and I'm here today asking or recommending that the Department of Public Works project labor agreement be added as an addendum to this project. So, as I mentioned before, the city has advertised the Traffic Signal Backlog Reduction Phase 1 and Vision Zero Traffic Signal Improvement Project on September 6, 2023. The project is located throughout the city, spanning various council districts and cities and zip codes. The city engineer has estimated that a total construction cost of $12,481,493. Traffic Signal Backlog Reduction Phase 1 and Vision Zero Traffic Signal Improvement Project scope of work consists of traffic signal improvements across the city that focus on traffic signal safety improvements. These improvements include the installation of new traffic signals, protected permissive left turn movements, interconnect, and high visibility continental crosswalks. The project is the first of many phases and to reduce the backlog of safety-related traffic signal improvements throughout the city. The Department of Public Works Project Labor Agreement, DWPPLA, and Public Infrastructure Stabilization Policy provides numerous benefits to the city during the construction of public works projects. The DPWPLA will help ensure quality work is done properly without costly corrections to the project. This will also provide work that is safely done by providing access to skilled workers with a commitment to training. The DPWPLA will also facilitate an orderly settlement of labor disputes and grievances without strikes, work stoppages, or lockouts, thereby promoting the public interest in assuring a timely and essential completion of projects. Adding the PLA in policy will help ensure that the maximum economic benefit is achieved for Los Angeles residents and communities. Previously completed projects of varying types and sizes covered by past DPWPLAs have created an average of 13 jobs per $1 million of project costs. So based on this average, the project should create approximately 162 jobs and career opportunities. Adding the DPWPLA to this project will ensure that construction work includes targets for hiring local residents, local apprentices, and traditional individuals, and that these efforts are monitored by the Bureau of Contract Administration. Therefore, respectfully recommend including the DPWPLA as part of this project. Any questions?
Thank you very much for your report this morning. Any questions, colleagues? Seeing none. I do have a question, since this is a project in all council districts, right? It's like spread out throughout the whole city. How will these contractors do the recruitment for the project labor agreement folks? Oh, Ian, there you are. I didn't see you. Good morning, Mr. Monte. Excited to see you here.
Thank you. Want to give a shout out. Shouldn't say that, but I am. Want to give a shout out to Max. He's one of our newest analysts and investigators in the section. And it doesn't always have to be me up here making these presentations. I want to give other staff an opportunity to shine.
Thank you, Ian.
This is his moment, and he'll get another one. So to answer your question, regardless of where the project is, it's one prime contractor and one jobs coordinator, regardless of who they choose, whether they go and get a third party, they do it in-house. And so the PLA is very specific about how they will go about doing the recruitment as it relates to bringing people on the job. Part of that will be going to the hiring halls and requesting workers, including local workers. Some of that will be utilizing that jobs coordinator to go into the various communities, regardless of where they are, to find people that could come to this project and ultimately get one of those 160 plus jobs on the project.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for that answer. Thank you so much, and thank you, sir, as well. Is this your first time presenting to the board?
It is.
Oh, well, congratulations. You did a great job. We're quite not done yet, though. Any other questions or any objections, colleagues?
Question.
Sure, go
How
ahead.
many individual jobs do we think that we will have in this particular project?
Approximately 162.
Oh, great. Okay.
Okay. And given that there are no objections, is there a motion on the table to move item number 3 forward and forthwith? Thank you, Dr. Davis. Is there a second? Thank you, VP Villegas. TJ Knight, there's a first by Dr. Davis and a second by Vice President Villegas to move item number 3 forward and forthwith.
Very good. Madam President, we will take a roll call vote on item number 3, starting with you.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas. Aye. President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corson.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes. Item number 3 is adopted and will move forward forthwith.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of the day. Moving, item number 4 is continued, so we're moving on to item number 5. This is a request from the Bureau of Engineering.
Real quick, I'm
Sure.
sorry to interrupt you, Madam President. So it's item number 4 is requested to be continued to October 4th, 2023, just to put the date on the record.
No problem. Item number 4 is continued to October 4th, 2023. All right, moving on to item number 5. This is a request from the Bureau of Engineering in Council District 14 for a task order solicitation number 6, Engine Company 23, Junior Art Center. Recommending the board to, 1, grant the budget authority of $1,035, right? I think that's supposed to be a comma. It's not 1,035, right?
Yes, that is correct. It's supposed to be $1,035,000. We'll note the correction on the.
Okay, no problem. $1,035,000. We don't want to give you $1,035. Task order number 6, as indicated in the board report adopted by the board on September 6, 2019, and that this take precedence over the board report adopted by the board on September 11, 2019. Mr. Marcelino, welcome here. Please tell us what we're doing since 2019 seems to be like a whole generation away.
Good morning, President Garcia, honorable commissioners, Mr. Knight, and most welcome guests. My name is Marcelino Asensio. I am a senior civil engineer here representing the Bureau of Engineering Architecture Division. The intent of this, just to provide greater context, the Engine Company 23 Junior Arts Center will be broken into 2 different phases. The first phase, which is currently in construction right now with our General Service Division's construction forces, will focus on seismic rehabilitation, historic restoration, as well as building code upgrades and some compliance that are required. The anticipated finish for this construction is July of 2024, and which phase 2 will begin in August of 2024. Primary funding is Proposition K funding. Initially, the board report submitted on September 6th identified and requested an increase in authority from $800,000 to $1,035,000 for added design, construction, administration, for support services for Bureau of Engineering. And then later, subsequently, a few days later on September 11th, another board report was submitted, which was a carryover from it was incorrect. It was basically a clerical error, and it was a carryover. So it misidentified the amount of the funding for budget authority. And so this, essentially what this is requesting is that the board report on September 6th with the correct amount and correct approval take precedence over the one that was subsequently submitted. So it's a correction of a clerical error on a different board report. And with that, that concludes my presentation. I was wondering if there are any questions or concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Asensio, for your report. What do we do with this $1 million that we give the Junior Arts Center. Is this for renovation or improvements?
Yeah, that is correct. So, so the first phase is for the seismic rehabilitation. So it's an older building built in the early 1900s. So there are some code requirements that are required from our building and safety department to make sure that it's structurally sound, that can withstand any sort of future seismic occurrences. And there's also some historic restoration. And then, like I mentioned, some just general building code, ADA compliance that are required. The second phase will focus more on interior remodeling, but the current phase is just more of a overall building structural improvement.
Understood. Any questions, colleagues? Vice President Villegas?
Yeah, thank you. Just, I wanted just a little bit more context. This item was before the board in 2019, and it seems like what we are approving today, or the budget amount was before this board in 2019, and I think that what we are approving today is administerial. I'm wondering, has phase one already been done? That's a lot of time.
Yes. No, so there have been several delays with this project as far as construction goes. So great question. Part of the requirement for the type of funding, Proposition K funding, requires that we, as a project, go to the local volunteer neighborhood oversight committee, or also known as LVNOC. And so there have been some feedback that was given by the LVNOC that we've incorporated into the design. So that created some changes, which also subsequently created some delays because of those design changes. And then with the COVID-19 pandemic kind of during that time in 2020 also kind of further delayed some of the process in the construction.
Okay. So local, like architects? Or
The LVNOC is composed of members who are designated from DCA, the Department of Cultural Affairs, as well as the council district.
Okay. So
Yeah.
from 19 to 2023, they've worked on that.
So we started construction last year, and so we'll be completing construction this upcoming
Okay.
year.
So we're already starting phase two.
Phase two will begin next year. Sorry. So phase one will complete July of 2024, so July of next year, and then we will start phase two immediately after.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for
Okay,
that.
makes
Yeah,
sense.
of course.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Asensio. Any other questions, colleagues?
The correction you said that we are making here, was it in the budget that we allocated in 2019? Was it incorrectly stated in the budget?
No, it was not. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Given that, any objections, colleagues? Hearing none, is there a motion on the table to move item number 5 forward and forthwith?
So moved.
Okay, I'll move it then. We all want to move it. I'm going to say Vice President Villegas first and Dr. Davis the second to move item number 5 forward and forthwith.
Very good. Madam President, we will take a roll call vote on item number 5, starting with you.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsand. Aye. And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and item number 5 will be adopted and move forward forthwith.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. Asensio. Good seeing you. Moving on to item number 6. This is an administrative item, specification submitted for board adoption and authorization to advertise for the invitation of bids in Council District 8, HZIP Cycle 7, Great Street, Crenshaw Boulevard improvements, Florence and 79th Street, work order E1907922 for an estimate amount of $3,127,607. Bid received date Wednesday, October 25th, 2023. Is there a second to my motion to approve this item?
Second.
Thank you, VP and Dr. Davis. TJ Knight, there's a first by me and a second by Vice President Villegas and Dr. Davis.
Very good, and we will take a roll call vote on item number 6, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsand.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
Item number 6 is adopted and moves forward forthwith.
Great, thank you very much. All right, Mr. Lance Oshini, waiting patiently there for item number 7, our oral report on sidewalk and transit amenities program from the Bureau of Street Services. Welcome.
Good morning, Lance Oishi with the Bureau of Street Services. Pleased to report on our STAP, or Sidewalk and Transit Amenities Program. There's been a lot that's happened since our last oral report. I'm going to start with finances first of all. As you may know, we were allocated an $8 million budget through the general fund 23-24 general fund budget. And so we were able to actually start paying our contractor, Transito Vector. And so to date, we have paid Transito Vector a total of $7.59 million, of which 3.6 of that has been going to actually purchasing the digital video screens that will be a part of our new shelters. And so that's exciting because that means the first components of our new shelters are now being fabricated. The remaining balance of that amount is paying for all of our, we actually owed Transito Vector a lot of money going back from December of 2022. And so we're able to catch up with a lot of our invoices that have been in arrears. And so we're caught up with Transito Vector at this point in time. And their design effort is continuing to move forward. In fact, this afternoon we have another meeting with another component of the design team to talk about the interface between pedestrians and our new furniture and how they're going to be able to access information through our new furniture. So there's a lot of work going on that's been continuing to move forward. We've been also doing a lot of community outreach. And oh, by the way, I want to go back and talk about circle back to finances. One other thing that happened that's really, really significant for us is that the $30 million Public Works Trust Fund loan that the board was gracious enough to approve for the Bureau of Street Services and for staff back in December of last year finally took a little bit of step forward to being approved. And so it was heard. The CEO completed its Executive Directive 3 review in July and forwarded that to the City Council and Mayor. We have now had the $30 million loan heard in the Public Works Committee. And so we're thankful and appreciative of both the Mayor's office and the CEO's office for moving that forward for us. We are just now waiting for the matter to come before the full board, full City Council for approval. And then we'll have access to that $30 million. And what that's going to allow us to do is actually start the fabrication process for the actual shelter structures themselves. And so with the release of the $30 million, we anticipate that we'll be able to start building the first 280 transit shelters. And if we put that order in the beginning of October, those new transit shelters should start arriving in late December, early January. So we believe that we'll be able to see the first new transit shelters installed at the beginning of next year. Super exciting because we've been waiting for over a year for this. So it's really great news for the program. Beyond that, we've been working with Metro on a project they call the North San Fernando Valley BRT, or Bus Rapid Transit Project. Metro actually had $53 million set aside for bus stop improvements for that project. And so we were about to execute an MOU with Metro to allow us to access that $53 million to build out the bus stop improvements for their project in the North San Fernando Valley. That project over the next 4 years will build out 393 new bus stops with new bus shelters. And so we'll be working on the first 100 of those North San Fernando Valley BRT bus shelters next year as well. And so what we're anticipating right now for 2024 is that the city will be able to receive upwards of 380 new shelters. Is that right? Yes, 380 new shelters in the 2024 calendar year, which is, again, if you look at our previous program through the 20 years, I think we installed a little over 660 shelters. And so we're almost doing half of what we did over 20 years just in a single year. So super excited to report that that's moving forward right now. The other thing I really wanted to kind of catch everybody up on is our public outreach. And so within the last month, we've actually launched a new website for this for our STAP program. But because a lot of people don't understand what STAP is, if I talk to even my wife about STAP, she goes, "What's that?" You know. And so we have the website. It's called labusstop.com. And so if you go to that website, it provides a overview of the program. There's a link to our map that you can see where all the bus stops are at. It provides updates of what we're doing with the program. There's also a link to a survey that people can fill out so they can tell us what they want to see for their bus stops. So that's huge, and it's been something that our Transito Vector's public relations firm has been working on for the last 4 months, and so we got it all put together. It's now available and open to the public. We also launched just last week our first STAP newsletter, also being produced by Transito Vector's public relation firm, and so we plan to be issuing this this newsletter every month. The newsletter right now is being sent out to people that have attended our previous community engagement efforts, and so they're on our mailing list, and so they're being furnished this monthly update letter electronically. And so that also, is another way that we're reaching out to folks. But beyond that, we've still been doing in-person meetings, and so our staff has been going to previously organized community events like Ciclovia, the Taste of Ecuador event that we had over here at La Plaza. And we've had a booth there, so we're handing out information about staff. We're taking survey information from people. And so we're still receiving input through that way. We're also partnering with both LA DOT and Metro. Metro has a group of folks they call the Blue Shirts, which actually are ambassadors for Metro. And they will be helping us take surveys of bus riders at bus stops. And so that's really, really important for us because we need to know what the bus riders want and need. And so by having folks that are actually riding the bus, filling out the survey right there at the bus stop, we know we're going to get the best information possible to help us help inform our program moving forward. Beyond that, we are still going to have community outreach events. So we have a virtual event, a citywide event that's going to be coming up on October 5th. And then we have 2 in-person events that are going to be happening out in North Hollywood on October 10th and down in Council District 8 on October 19th. And so we are still trying to really get the word out about the program. The next phase of our community engagement efforts are really to help community members tell us what they want to see aesthetically from our bus shelters. So this design effort for our bus shelters up to date has been developing a kit of parts that people can pick and choose from. And what that does is that gives us a bus shelter design that is universal as far as recognition. So if you go to Valley, if you go to San Pedro, if you go to Boyle Heights or Pacific Palisades, you see one of our shelters, you know it's a bus shelter and you know it belongs to our program. But the kit of parts allows those shelters to be customized for the individual communities so that the bus shelter in Boyle Heights doesn't have to look like a bus shelter downtown or doesn't have to look like a bus shelter in Koreatown or West LA. And so that's what the type of information we're actually really trying to solicit through our survey efforts right now is from the various community members. What do you want to see within your community? And that includes artwork on the shelters themselves. And so we're also initiating, well, we will be initiating once we start installing the shelter, an outreach effort that'll engage local community artists that we can then place artwork on our shelters. And so that's something that we're also looking forward to. So a lot to do still. We are super, super busy. I do want to recognize one person that's going to be leaving our team in the next month, which is Audrey Netsalong. I think most of you have met her before. She is a fantastic asset to the Bureau of Street Services. She's decided to take a position over at the zoo. And so she'll be the landscape architect for the zoo department. So we'll still be seeing her, but unfortunately she will not be helping us out with the STAP program any longer. So we are looking to staff up our positions. We have vacancies, and so especially with the construction coming up right now, there's still a lot of coordination work occurring with the Bureau of Street Services, Bureau of Street Lighting, LADWP, Bureau of Contract Administration, and we want to thank them for all their help that they've been providing to us. Without additional staffing, they're still accommodating our program and helping us move things forward. And so we look forward to starting the installation process next year. And again, we're gearing up that whole process right now so we can get there and actually start putting a shovel on the ground after the New Year's. And I'd be glad to take any questions at this time.
Thank you very much, Lance. That's a lot going on that you have right now. I'll see my colleagues have any questions. VP Villegas?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Lance, for your report. It's always so good to see you and to hear what's going on with our program. I have 4 questions. I'll just read them and then you can answer them. The first one's pretty easy. Can you please add all the commissioners to the newsletter that Transito provides?
Will do.
Okay. My second question is if you can give us I guess the second and third question are combined. Can you give us an updated timeline for repayments? And were the 30 million given in increments? And then my last question is, what other grants have you all secured, for the program?
Certainly. So let me talk about the, excuse me, the repayment of the Public Works Trust Fund loan. One of the things I was remiss in talking about earlier is the fact that there's also a a new ordinance to the admin code that's moving forward, and that actually was adopted by both the Public Works Committee and the Budget and Finance Committee. And what that admin code change does is it allows us to receive program monies into a fund that they're calling the Raise LA Fund. And the Raise LA Fund will allow us then to take program revenues to pay back loans such as the Public Works Trust Fund loan. We don't have that capability right now. Even if we receive the Public Works Trust Fund loan, there's no mechanism that allows us to directly pay back the Public Works Trust Fund loan from the program revenues. This new Raise LA Fund will. And so that will hopefully go into effect prior to next January. And so once the $30 million is allocated to the Bureau of Street Services, we will have the ability to repay that. The repayment schedule is to have that happen over 5 years for the Public Works Trust Fund loan. So pay approximately $5 million per year plus interest. And so we feel that by 2028 or the beginning of 2029, we'll have repaid the full amount of the Public Works Trust Fund loan.
Okay. Did you know that there was no repayment ability for the Bureau before you accepted it?
Yes, we were aware of that. We've been actually trying to set up this Raise LA fund or something similar to that for the past 18 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that only raised to the policy committee of the Public Works Committee and with budget? Because I don't remember hearing that.
I'm sorry, can you say that again one more time?
Was the issue of repayment and not having the mechanism for the Bureau to repay for the Public Works Trust Fund, was that issue brought up to a policy committee in council, the Public Works Committee, and to the Budget Committee? Because this commission, I don't remember hearing about not having the ability. And I'm wondering, why were we not informed of something like that?
Well, we did. So let me take a step
I
back.
just feel blindsided, and you've already figured it out. You've come to us, and now it's like all packaged up. Nonetheless, it's a big issue that this board was never told about. So I just want to know why.
So we were working with the various council offices, specifically the Public Works Committee Chair and Budget Finance Committee Chairs previously.
But why wasn't this board?
So
regardless of your working with others on the outside? Did Dr.
primarily
Campos know?
because the admin code situation is something that can be resolved by City Council and not something by the Board of Public Works.
Okay, but that piece was not shared with this body.
That's oversight on our part, and we apologize.
Yeah, and I'm just letting you know that this is not this is the, I feel blindsided, and I feel that this board is just like, ignored and dismissed, completely dismissed. While you have good news for us, I feel that that was a big oversight. I hate getting on saying it that way, but I do feel that it was a big oversight, and no one here, maybe you may have reasons why, but it was not shared at this board, and that's a big mistake on your part and your leadership's part, I will say that.
Again, I apologize for that oversight.
And then as far as my other questions, I gave if the timeline of the updated timeline for repayment, if that, you said that by 2029, if we can just get that in writing, with some background information, and then including on there just the program revenue and the mechanism for repayment, if that can be included as well. And then you can just answer the piece for the grants. That's it.
Certainly. I will say that we were successful in getting a grant through the Congressman Tony Cardenas' office in an amount of $1.8 million to create more shade and shelter out in the valley. And so that will be added into the capital source of revenues for the program that we can then expend on transit shelters. There will be a formal announcement forthcoming from that, I believe from the mayor's office within the next month. Beyond that, we are applying for, we have applied for several different grants. There was I think it's a US DOT RAISE grant that we applied for previously that we were not successful in getting. There is another grant opportunity that we're working with Metro and the Bureau of Engineering to possibly furnish additional revenues to do additional transit stop improvements downtown. So we are pursuing additional revenue sources beyond just program revenues.
Thank you, VP Villegas. You really brought up some really good points, and I have follow-up questions, but I'm going to let Dr. Davis ask his questions. Dr. Davis?
Yeah, Lance, so the liaison for street services, the first chair on that would be, oh, it's you. Okay, so then you in the Bureau of Street Services do have a report that you give to the liaison to the Bureau, which would be Commissioner Garcia, President Garcia. So you do have, I guess, someone in the management team of the Bureau of Street Services who updates the liaison about these issues that we're involved in, correct?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so they will be in contact with Commissioner Garcia, President Garcia.
Yes,
And
definitely.
I think I'm second chair. on
Yes, I think you're a backup.
But if they contact you, that would be sufficient because we were committed.
Well, I have my own questions right now, but go ahead, Dr. Davis.
Yeah, so I just wanted to talk about process and procedures, which is one of the things that I care about as it relates to the Department of Public Works as an organization. So it seems that we do have these things in place, and I'm sure you're going to go back after this meeting and have that discussion. Thank you.
Can you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry.
I said, as a result of this meeting, you will go back to the management team of the Bureau of Street Service and have that conversation.
Most definitely,
About
yes.
process and procedure and the liaisons of the board to the Bureau of Street Service. In this case, it would be President Garcia, right? To whom we
Correct,
would have
yes.
had some discussion about those critical policy issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. So I agree, and I was not aware of this either, but my question is, so what's the plan on paying our loan back? Because ultimately, we are the carriers of this loan, and we are the ones saying yes to 30 million, and now it's gone through everybody else, and everybody has put in a say, and we didn't even know about this. So what is the plan that Bureau of Street Services has to pay back that loan?
So again, excuse me, the plan was always to pay back the loan from program revenues. And so once we got the Public Works Trust Fund loan approved, first of all, we weren't aware that it had to go through this 83 review process, which we found out after the fact. We were anticipating that we would have access to those monies immediately. We also then started looking into how we might receive those monies. There was different suggestions that were being bantered back and forth between the Office of Accounting, our financial management folks, folks like the CEO, to figure out how we might best receive that money and where it would nest so that the Bureau could then access it and utilize it. There was a series of discussions that, again, has been taking place over the past 9-10 months that has been ongoing. In fact, prior to that, we knew that the existing, what they call Street Furniture Revenue Fund, which is the administration code that directs what program revenues go to right now, did not facilitate that really crucial task for us. And so we had been trying to work with various council offices, as I mentioned before, to have that the administration code amended to allow us to be able to do that. Because again, this program is very, very different from the previous program in the sense that we are paying out the capital expenses for the program. We've never had to do that before. And so, we did start that out. Again, the program itself, as we mentioned last December, I believe, when we were before the Board of Public Works to request the $30 million loan, we had talked about a 5-year repayment program, and we are still committed to doing that.
TJ, I have a procedural question. Does the loan, we still haven't taken it out of our coffers, right? It's still within our coffers, the 30 millions?
The Public Works Trust Fund loan
Yes.
for the project, I would have to research that. I can't answer that
Okay.
authoritatively.
There still has to be another point of when we release the money?
I would have to research that. I
Okay.
apologize. I can research.
Can you give me that process, please? I want to know. And Lance, I want to have something in writing that says how we are going to get paid back. I heard you say program revenues, but when does that actually start?
So it would start in the 2024 calendar year.
2024, so sometime next year. So you're looking at sometime next year, start paying us back?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Can you define that? Because now I want to make sure that I'm pretty clear on what that looks like. You know, part of when we consider a loan, one of the things that I've made very clear is that I want to make sure I know how we are going to get paid back. And there's a time and there's funds that are going to be available that are going to pay us back. So again, you know, not okay without us knowing, you know, that's not okay. And I would appreciate if you guys go back and refine the process on letting this board know, because ultimately we are the board that is going to sign off on this Public Works Trust Fund. So, and in whatever other negotiation is happening, just keep us all up to date, because we're all tracking this, and we wouldn't have known this if this was not on today's calendar. So I'm going to go back, and I know management is here and executive director. I just want to make sure that you guys understand that we're also part of this process, and we should not be oversighted. Just a quick, we're not complicated. We just want to know. But that's all. We're not going to stop the process. We're not going to tell anybody no. We just want to know so that we know where we're at all times. And so please make sure that your team
Will do.
incorporates us in it.
Yes.
Okay, so other than that, TJ, you'll give me the process of how we release funds, and Lance, you're gonna get me a description exactly of how this loan's gonna be paid back.
I will do that, yes.
Thank you so much.
Now, let me ask,
Sure.
Lance, you mentioned the sidewalk program, right? Did you say something about sidewalks when you updated us on?
Not necessarily, but the raise, so first of all, the program itself is be called the Sidewalk and Transit Amenities Program. The Raise LA Fund will allow program revenues to be utilized for transit stop or transit-related improvements, which includes sidewalk reconstruction and repair.
And that would be the sidewalks specifically in the vicinity of the transit areas that.
Correct.
Bus stations, okay. Gotcha. And then in terms of those who would get an opportunity to do that work, how would that unfold? Or is that another issue for another day?
That has yet to be determined, I guess. You know, the fund itself is not set up at this point, but I think that once we get the fund set up, it was envisioned that we would utilize street services crews to actually do a lot of the construction work. And so we would schedule the work accordingly. We have we would continue to receive requests for you know, improvements within bus stop zones, whether it's a bus pad, whether it's you know, planting a tree, or you know, fixing the sidewalk. You know, unfortunately, for better for worse, bus service itself has not been treated as a first class, you know, mode of transportation, and so there's a lot of work that needs to be done in bus stops.
You did
citywide.
confirm for me earlier that the process and the policy that we have as it relates to neighborhood associations being able to use PSAs on the transit stations still is a policy in place, right?
It's a program feature. It's something that's written into the contract. The PSA features are available to city programs, city departments, and so most of the community members that have been utilizing the PSA amenities for our program are going through their neighborhood councils.
Correct.
So neighborhood councils do post PSAs, whether it's for their election process, whether it's just to get people to come out and, you know.
So it still is available. I often
Most
go
definitely.
to several neighborhood associations to talk about public works services. And oftentimes that issue comes up, and I just needed to have some clarity, but I recall that you did send me an email to that level that it was in fact still in place. Some neighborhood associations in our area, in the South Los Angeles area, had a misunderstanding from one of the staff members, but you cleared that up, and I just wanted to confirm that that policy was still in place.
That is still in place, and it's not only in place for our sidewalk and transit amenities program, but for our bus bench program as well. So there actually are two outlets for community groups and neighborhood councils to access our PSA amenities, and we continue to provide that service.
I think it's a great service that they appreciate, and I appreciate your making sure that we are still doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Commissioner Reyes?
So my question hinges on the fact that you said that we're going to be repaid, the loan is going to be repaid once we generate revenue from the program. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So my question is, there's so many variables that hinges on deployment of the bus shelters, the timing for those, the supply chain issues that we may have. Is there a master plan for when bus shelters arrive, how they are prioritized, where they will be placed, and projected revenue from that deployment of those bus shelters? Sort of like a grand vision of how this is all going to play out. And at the same time, with that revenue coming in into our revenue stream, that loan will then be repaid.
Certainly. Let me start by talking about program revenues first.
Okay.
By going through this new business model that we're looking at for STAP, we believe we're going to triple the amount of revenues that the city is able to receive through our transit furniture. As an example, our previous contract just provided us with 20% of the gross revenue receipts. STAP is going to provide us with 60%, 60.5% of gross revenue receipts. So given us the equal amount of sales, and the best year sales for our previous vendor was in 2019, where they did a little over $30 million in sales. We received $6 million out of that $30 million. And that's pre-COVID. We're catching up to those pre-COVID levels at this point. Just by that increase in percentage, if same contract was in place in 2019, we would not have received just $6 million. We would have received $18 million, and so and some change above and beyond that. So we believe that through that business model, and again with the program, we believe is going to generate probably about $20 million in gross revenue receipts this year, of which if we receive 60%, we're looking at about $12 million. So moving forward, we believe that we're going to be able to pay back the Public Works Trust Fund that $5 million on an annual basis. Again, we don't know what other financial obligations we may incur in the future, and so we don't want to commit to paying back more than that $5 million at this point, because if we have other obligations, then that will give us some breathing room to repay those obligations. So that's on a financial end. On the rollout, what we call the rollout of the implementation of the new shelters, we have been working on that since 2019. Actually, there's various scenarios right now. Our initial strategy was to roll out our new digital shelters initially, which would then allow us to generate a lot more revenues from the get-go, and that would sustain the program and provide basically the initial funding that will allow the program to succeed. That's being delayed right now because of the CEQA documentation challenges that we have. And so we cannot install digital shelters immediately. We are still planning to move forward in that direction. We've also been asked by various elected officials to look at changing our rollout strategy a little bit so that we are looking at placing our initial shelters in mostly in equity-focused communities, disadvantaged communities that were overlooked in the previous programs. And so that is part of the rollout for this first 380 shelters that we're looking at right now. Overall, though, over the 5 years that we had anticipated the rollout for the program would be, we were looking at trying to install on average about 600 shelters a year. We started a mapping process back in 2018, 2019 that helped us identify which bus stops need shelters the most based upon high ridership, high heat, proximity to trip generators like hospitals, schools, parks, those type of facilities that people need to get through. We also looked at Did I mention equity-focused communities? Because that was definitely a big one. And also, if you are waiting for a bus a long time, then you need a shelter more so than someone waiting a couple minutes. And so working with Metro, and we had access to Metro's consultants, we crunched all that data together for each bus stop in the city, and there's over 8,000 bus stops. And we were able to identify which bus stops we currently have furniture at, which bus stops need furniture the most based upon those criteria. That's what we're focusing on. We're focusing on putting the, we have 4 priority scores for bus stops. We're focusing on ensuring that we get new shade and shelter at the priority 1 and priority 2 level stops, because those are locations that require shade and shelter the most. That also helps us achieve the goal set before us by the City Council, which was to ensure 75% of each of all the bus riders in the city are able to board a bus where where there's a shade structure present. And so we needed to really crunch those numbers to figure out how we're going to achieve that goal. So that's why that planning started way back in 2018, 2019. We're sticking with that plan. Year to year, it may change and shift a little bit because of the, I'll say because of technical challenges out there. One of the things that we're looking at right now, one of the reasons why the planning process has been taking so long is just determining if we have the proper amount of electricity on the streets that'll energize the digital shelters. And it's very, very different from our existing shelters that just have a couple of fluorescent tubes in them that require a minimal amount of electricity. There's also the fact that we are now, as opposed to our previous program, we are now required to ensure that the bus stop landing area around the shelter and the area between the shelter and the actual bus stop front door boarding area is ADA compliant. That is a huge difference. In fact, for us, from a capital expenditure perspective, that represents probably 50% of what we're going to be spending our monies on for this program. So 50% of the monies, if we're looking at, I think the initial estimate was about $280 million for capital expenses for the program. $140 million of that is going just to doing sidewalk improvements to meet ADA. The rest of that is actually for the equipment and for things like replacement and glass panels or whatever we need to do for that type of stuff. And so that was all, again, calculated and figured out when we signed the contract, when we pursued that and negotiated the contract with Transito Vector. We know we have a good contract. In fact, it's the only one like it in the country right now. There's a lot of other cities that are looking at us to see if this business model works. There's a lot of people that are naysaying against the contract, saying that because it's a non-traditional transit furniture contract, that it's destined to fail. We think otherwise. We believe actually that the business model is sound and that the proof is in the pudding. We've already seen additional revenues come in this year over and above what we received in any previous year in the contract in the previous 20 years that we've had. And so, and we're only, basically 3/4 of the way through the calendar year. So again, we believe the contract is going to work. The business model is sound. And we just needed the financing to be in place in order to allow us to start building shelters. And so that's where the $30 million Public Works Trust Fund was critical for us. We were really, really focused on trying to get that trust fund loan because there was no other options available to us. We were trying to work with the CEO's office to see if we could debt finance it through a bond program that was determined to be infeasible by the CEO's office. I guess the council could decide to provide us general funds every year. Again, it's a big tab. And so there's been discussions about how we should do that. So the Bureau took it upon itself to determine how we might be able to move the program forward. We also were looking at reinvesting program revenues into the program. And so to the extent that this Raise LA fund is actually passed through the City Council, we will have maybe $5 to $10 million a year annually to purchase and buy more shelters. And with each construction site being roughly about $100,000 a year, $5 million gets us 50 shelters. So, we need more monies to get to where we're at. We're looking for those monies. Again, we're looking at both federal and state loans and grants. The $30 million allows us to move forward while we're looking for that additional money.
Very well. Commissioner Reyes, any other questions?
No, thank you for that context. I think what we've learned today is more on the transparency side and the accountability side that we really want for us to observe and comply with, and also we have our board executive office here, and to work with them and give them updated information with regards to any development regarding that loan repayment. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. We're happy to provide, that's why we have the Public Works Trust Fund for programs and projects. We prioritize our bureaus. That's why we have it. And that's been something that we implemented about maybe a couple months ago or a year ago, I think, when we said that the Public Works Trust Fund was going to be first and foremost for bureaus. And because we have other departments and other city departments that ask us for a loan from time to time. And we've been able to keep it at a healthy amount because we have a lot of measurements in place, and mostly is because I want to make sure that we always have a payback plan in action. So with that said, how often do you do these oral reports to this board?
I believe it's quarterly.
Quarterly?
I believe it's quarterly, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna pivot that, and I'm gonna ask if you come monthly now.
I can do that.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that we are not blindsided again, and that we have total transparency on what this is going to look like. We can scale back the report back once we see some implementation happening, once we've moved, the trust fund the money towards the bureau, once we kind of get that going. But right now, there's a lot of moving parts, and I'm not sure we're capturing everything as it is. So from now, TJ Knight, if you can please put the staff oral report to be done on a monthly basis until we can, we start seeing some implementation of the program. Thank
Not a
you.
problem.
And it doesn't have to be you specifically, but it could be someone else in your team that comes.
Sure.
Okay.
Most definitely.
My other, and this is totally not related to the trust fund, is you said that you guys are looking at ridership and so forth. Can you also add on that list high schools? I see a lot of high schools and a lot of kids hanging out, getting the bus to and from, and sometimes they're just like sitting on the sidewalk, or they're like under a tree, or just very scattered. I just want to make sure that the kids, high schools are still taking a lot of the bus routes. So just, can you add into that, the high schools?
That was actually one of the, again, the trip generators that we looked at. So we did look at, high schools. We looked at, again, employment centers, shopping areas, destinations like Griffith Park or Venice Beach or whatever. So we looked at things on a local level, but also on a macro level as well. And if a bus stop was within a quarter mile of one of those facilities, whether it's a high school, whether it's a hospital, it received a certain score, an additional score. So that was considered when you look at things like bus ridership and combined. I think the challenge for a lot of the high schools is that, as opposed to say someplace like downtown where we just have constant people come in all the time, is that the kids are there in the mornings and they're in the afternoons. Middle of the day, not so much. In the evenings, not so much.
Correct.
And so, if you're looking at ridership, then sometimes those type of bus stops don't score quite as high.
Yeah, it's like false data, right? Because it's not giving it. Specifically, I will say Granada Hills High School. I was on a stop there. It was hot in the middle of the summer, and the kids were just kind of sitting on the sidewalk, and there was no real place for them to be under any type of shade. That's all. Specifically in the valley when it's hot.
Sure.
They really do need bus shelter there. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, colleagues, to Commissioner Corson?
I have a question and comments. We approved this at the end of the prior administration, and I said then that we were rushing towards something when there was a large amount of leadership change coming, whether it was a new mayor, a new city controller, a new city attorney, a lot of new council members, and then we were asked to then revote on a list of locations right after the election, and some of the new council member offices hadn't even picked out their furniture yet, and we were basically having the prior administration tell them which locations or which shelters bus shelters were going to be updated. And I understand and I agree with Vice President Villegas on how it has happened, but I've only been following this as it's been making its way through the clerk's file and the CAO and the Public Works Committee. So I don't feel as blindsided because I've been able to track it that way. And I think that's the aggravation is we had to go and look for it ourselves to see the report and see the updates. I don't think the information has been shared as forthright as it should have, especially when there was a lot of pressure on us to approve this loan. And I'm still for it. I still think this is a great idea to move forward. But I do want to commend you and the Bureau for navigating a topsy-turvy, earthquake-like political landscape with so many changes and so many new leaders in place, giving direction that was almost always an opposite of what it should be and not very clear at times until things were figured out. Since we are going to do monthly reports, because another thing I saw change in the CAO's report from the Public Works Committee was the rollout and how it's going to be distributed across council districts. If we are going to do this monthly, if we could get an update on not just the financials of it, but where the rollout is, and if anything else has changed in terms of one council district having more than the other. That's, I think, what I'd be looking for is how we're implementing this and how we're rolling it out. Otherwise, I could pile on, but I don't think there's a need to. I think I'm very understanding of the pressure that you and your team were under in trying to figure this out and roll out something that is quite new in how the city does business. So congratulations for getting to this point, at least.
Thank you so much.
Lance knew before.
Well, I just want to say just once again, thank you so much for presenting to us. And I think we all agree that there are some things and organizations that are evident. There are some things that are not. But one thing that is critically important is communications. And so we are in the same organization, the Department of Public Works, and communication is critically important for us to all be effective. And I'm comfortable with the fact of this discussion that we all agree that moving forward, that's what we will do.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Okay, any other questions? It's not a voting item, so thank you so much, Lance. We do appreciate all the work that has gone to make this to this point where we're at. That's not what's in question here. We recognize the work that all your bureau, from you to Keith to everybody else that works on this program. It's been a lot of work, and I know this is a different methodology of working, and it's a different way of doing things. So. And to Commissioner Corson's point, there's been a change in leadership, but I think what we are very much, what we want to make sure is that we do not get bypassed.
Sure.
We are a governing board of the Department of Public Works, and we oversee the policies and direction of the bureaus, and so that comes with a lot. So even if council and everybody else, that's all great. We'll always adhere to all of that, but we want to make sure that we're part of, because we probably could have helped you out in a different way. And that's a missed opportunity for us and for this process. So I just want to make sure that we're here to support and move things along.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lance, for your report today. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
TJ Knight, have we cleared today's desk?
Yes, we have.
Great. Thank you, everyone. It is now 12:24, and this meeting's officially adjourned.